Bats fly around, catching and eating the insects that threaten to destroy the priceless books. This old library has used these little If you fall with a Q-tip in your ear, the sudden impact can drive it deep into the ear canal, pushing dangerously close to the delicate eardrum. If it punctures He noticed food mysteriously disappearing from his home. Concerned about a possible intruder, he installed security cameras. One day, the cameras alerted him to movement while he was away. He called the police, who searched the house but found no signs of a break-in. Then they checked a small storage space above his closet, and to their astonishment, they found a 58-year-old woman hiding inside. For a year, she lived in this compartment, complete with a mattress and plastic bottles for water. While the man was away, she would quietly come out to eat and shower. He noticed if you got bit by a flea, a bacterium would enter your body and begin to multiply quickly. They would head to your lymph nodes, causing them to swell up and forming painful bumps in your armpits. The bacteria can also get into your bloodstream, causing bleeding under your skin. This bleeding makes your skin turn dark and black in certain spots, which is why it was called the Black Death. Without medicine to stop it, the infection would spread fast, killing millions. If you got bit, sailors were trapped in a sinking ship during the attack on Pearl Harbor. As water quickly flooded the compartments, 3 sailors deep within the hull were inside an airtight storeroom and were able to stay alive. Others slowly became aware that sailors were alive somewhere in the ship. For days, tapping sounds were heard from inside the ship, and despite knowing that the sailors were trapped, rescue wasn't possible. When the ship was finally salvaged months later, the remains of the men were found with a calendar that had 16 days marked off. The tribespeople raised their bows at the missionary as he illegally landed on the Sentinel Island in 2018. Despite their hostility, the missionary climbed out of his kayak to preach to them. But a young boy from the tribe released an arrow. Instead of killing the man, it hit the Bible, saving his life. But the tribespeople had taken his kayak, and he had to swim back to a fishing boat. The next day, the missionary swam back to the island, but this time he wasn't so lucky. Fishermen later saw the tribespeople burying his body on the beach. Most people would try to jump out if they were trapped in a hot air balloon. Instead, find the burner controls to release hot air slowly, which cools the balloon, making it descend. Aim for an open field and use the side vents to release hot air from one side of the balloon, allowing it to rotate and position the basket for a better landing. If that doesn't work, you're either going to continue getting higher, eventually losing oxygen and passing out, or you might hit some power lines, which will make everything catch fire and crash. She climbed out of bed and began to sleepwalk as she left the house. Dressed only in her pajamas, she entered the dense forest, disappearing into the night. The next day, rescue teams searched for more than 24 hours. But it wasn't until drones using heat detection that she was finally located. Curled up on the forest floor just 1.5 miles from her home, she was miraculously unharmed, aside from a few mosquito bites. If you were submerged in liquid nitrogen, the extreme cold could cause your skin to freeze instantly. Next, the water in your tissues would turn to ice, making your skin and muscles rigid and brittle. After just a few seconds, your body would be frozen solid. Any sudden movement could shatter your frozen limbs. If you tried to warm up again, the ice inside your body would melt too quickly, causing your cells to burst like water balloons. A deadly parasite entered through her nostrils as she jumped into the pool. It burrowed into her brain, destroying tissue and causing swelling. She came home with a headache, which turned into a high fever and projectile vomiting the following day. She was rushed to the hospital and doctors gave her a 1% chance of survival, putting her in a coma for 22 days. A rare drug miraculously saved her, but she had to relearn how to walk, talk, and even swim again. A deadly parasite. Hidden inside the massive wooden horse were Greek soldiers ready to strike. As it rolled through the gates of Troy, cheers erupted from the unsuspecting Trojans, oblivious to the danger lurking within. You see, the Greeks pretended to give up on their battle for Troy. They said the horse was a gift meant to make their city invincible. That night, while everyone slept, the Greek soldiers crept out, opened the gates, and let in the waiting Greek army. The battle for Troy reignited, leading to its ultimate downfall. Swirling water begins to pull you towards its center if you get caught in a whirlpool. As you get closer, the current intensifies, drawing you downward in a spiral motion. Then, the vortex will pull you under the water. Underneath, the pressure increases, and you might feel the force pushing you deeper. And if the whirlpool is strong enough, it can keep you submerged until you lose consciousness. But if you remain calm, you might be able to swim out of the current when it weakens at the bottom. Swirling, he was trapped in waist-deep snow during a deadly blizzard and began to freeze. A woman inside her home heard his desperate pleas. Without hesitation, she and her boyfriend ventured into the storm to rescue him. They brought him inside, using a hairdryer to warm his frozen clothes and treating his severe frostbite. They called 911, but emergency services couldn't reach them due to the blizzard. Desperate for help, she started a Facebook live stream, pleading for rescue. As his situation grew dire, thousands watched but no help arrived. Local residents saw her message and braved the treacherous conditions to reach them. They transported the man to the hospital, where he began to recover. He placed his head inside a lion's mouth. The audience was on edge, watching anxiously. Suddenly, a balloon popped in the crowd. The startled lion's jaws immediately clamped shut around his head, swinging him violently as it tried to make sense of the sudden noise. Blood poured down his face, and gasps erupted from the audience. Despite the pain, the trainer managed to get the lion to release its grip. Paramedics immediately treated him, and he walked away with just a few stitches. They smeared the sticky substance over the stranger's face in the middle of a busy airport, believing they were part of a prank show. But moments later, the man collapsed to the ground, convulsing, and within minutes, he was dead. What the women didn't know was that the sticky substance was actually a deadly nerve agent, and the man was the estranged half-brother of North Korea's leader. The women had just committed an assassination and were arrested immediately, but the actual masterminds behind the operation were never caught. You should actually be saving your poop instead of flushing it away. And you can do this by giving your doctor a deposit. Later in life, if you get an infection in your gut, your doctor can thaw and prepare your sample. Then they'll transplant the good poop into your gut. This repopulates your gut with good bacteria that will fight the infection and potentially save your life. The girl took a Tylenol to help with a cold, but within hours, she was dead. Over the next few days, 6 more people in the area died the same way. The deaths triggered nationwide panic. Stores pulled Tylenol from shelves, and millions of bottles were recalled. Authorities launched a massive investigation and discovered the capsules had been laced with cyanide. The tragedy led to the invention of tamper-proof seals, but the poisoner was never caught. The girl, she zipped her boyfriend inside.